Talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing have now concluded. Trump met Xi as China hosted a military reception for the U.S. president at the Great Hall of the People. The two leaders shook hands after Trump arrived in a motorcade to the steps. Then Trump, alongside Xi, inspected military honor guards and received a 21-gun salute. Well, at the start of the meeting, Xi expressed happiness to receive Trump for the U.S. leader's first trip to China since 2017. Listen to this.
Have always believed that the shared interests between China and the United States outweigh our differences, that the success of each nation represents an opportunity for the other, and that a stable China-U.S. relationship is a boon for the world. Cooperation benefits both sides, while confrontation harms both. We should be partners, not rivals, helping each other succeed and prosper together, thereby forging a new path for the proper way for major powers to interact in this new era.
Those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever, they can never remember anything like it. I can say in the United States, people aren't talking about anything else. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
After the meeting, Trump visited the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Temple of Heaven. Constructed in the 15th century, it is a huge complex home to 92 ancient buildings with 600 rooms. Here, emperors of the King and Queen dynasties, they would offer sacrifice to heaven and prayed for bumper harvests. Trump was accompanied by Xi to the monument. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Saeed Imamian. He's an assistant professor at Tehran Polytechnic, founder and former director of the governance and policy think tank. We also have with us our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, let me quickly come to you first. How is Washington characterizing, the tone of the bilat, and what are the key takeaways so far?
Well, we haven't gotten really a key takeaway from this bilateral meeting that just took place, about 2 hours and 15 minutes, 35 minutes more than the last meeting between the two leaders in South Korea. However, it does appear from Chinese media that we're hearing that President Xi told President Trump that they should tread cautiously when it comes to Taiwan, and Taiwan may be an area where ultimately the two sides may have conflicting views and even engage in some kind of conflict. And now we are hearing, of course, that reporters try to shout at President Trump some questions at the Temple of Heaven. They asked about Taiwan. After getting this news, President Trump replied by saying, quote unquote, China is beautiful. So the two leaders did not answer any questions, and we don't have a readout as of yet, but we can anticipate what will come out of it. As far as the United States is concerned, if they can get any kind of so-called deliverable on trade, that'll be a success. And for China, a more predictable United States and perhaps less restrictions on semiconductors and possibly some kind of Discussion or agreement on the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz would be beneficial for the two sides. But 2 hours, 15 minutes, one can imagine a lot was discussed. We'll get more details, I'm sure, shortly, if not from President Trump in a social media post.
Absolutely, Susan, and we'll keep coming back to you for more details on that. Now, Dr. Imamian, we understand that, the entire world is closely analyzing the pageantry, be it, something as small as the handshake to, of course, the statements that are coming out of Beijing. And while Iran was not formally a part of the summit, there is this understanding that the Iran war has been hanging over the conversations in quite a prominent way. How is Iran viewing this summit?
Actually, it would be, first of all, a bilateral talks that is very important now because it has been said since the second round of the Trump administration that the China is going to be understood or to be seen by American officials as the main rival or global enemy for the U.S. So you know that the weaponization of the economic instruments like tariffs have been mainly targeted against China. So such kind of the talks or bilateral visits are very important from that point of view. But with regards to the Iran, you know that Trump now is facing a very challenging stalemate to some extent. So he's looking for an escape way from such kind of the challenge that he is facing with. In the one side, Trump decision and Trump's involvement in the strike has been seen widely by Americans as the supporting of mainly in support of the Israelis' interests rather than the American interests. And Trump has been accused of being hijacked by the Israelis and particularly by Benjamin Netanyahu's policy. At the same time, Trump is looking for a face-saving escape way from such a challenge. So Trump is looking for Chinese support for that because China-Iran relationship is very strategically seen from the point of view of the 25 years agreement that has been already signed between Iran and China. And you know that Iran and China has been cooperating to each other with regards to different issues, including the security of the energy supply from the Persian Gulf. What is happening now in the region?
Dr. Imamian, of course, just to take it a little...
to discuss.
Absolutely. Now, it's no secret that Trump is going to be leaning heavily on China to, of course, get Iran back to the negotiating table or agree to some sort of a concession or stabilizing force when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I just want to understand from you, how much leverage does China actually possess over Iran when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz and de-escalating tensions? And you can carry on with the point you were making in the previous, Dr. Imamian.
I think, first of all, we need to contextualize this situation, that China has been gradually very much involved in the politics or geopolitical balance in the region by the very important mediation that China made between Iran and Saudi Arabia in 2022. So there would be some more open door for China to come in and to have such kind of the mediatory role in the region. But at the same time, China understands that current challenge and current conflicts in the region has been very much driven by the U.S. unilateral unprovoked aggression against Iran. And China has been very publicly rejecting that kind of the war and aggression, not only this time, even in the last June, if you remember. So China knows that the current conflict is a kind of the struggle for U.S. for having a hegemony in the region. And if U.S. was successful in having such kind of the hegemony over the Persian Gulf, it would be a very important leverage for U.S. to pressurize on China with regards to having a very big role in the energy supply to China. So China is very much keen not to let U.S. to have such kind of a leverage. So first of all, China is going to support Iranian position, rejecting any war against Iran. Secondly, China is very much support of protecting international law that he thinks that such kind of the war is very much against any kind of the international law. And thirdly, China is very much concerned about not to let U.S. to have a kind of the hegemony over the supply, energy supply in the region. But at the same time, China has some concerns about the Strait of the Hormuz, and that I think such kind of the concern has been met by the previous visit of the Iranian foreign minister to Beijing last week. And we have had such kind of the agreement and discussion to meet China's concern that I think that it won't be any more issue anymore between Iran and China.
We hear you, Dr. Imamian. Now, addressing those concerns, of course, we understand that Beijing, has it's long benefited from this strategic relationship that it has over Tehran. But we also understand that China as well desperately needs the Strait of Hormuz to open up and the energy markets to stabilize. Now, having said that, at what point might China's, economic interests begin to outweigh its strategic alignment, according to you?
I think China, I think, clearly understands the Iranian very simple policy that the Strait of the Hormuz would be open either for everyone or for no one. So China is looking for a very stabilizing the situation in the region. That means Strait of the Hormuz would be open by Iranians very easily if the blockade is lifted, the war is ended in all fronts, and also there would be kind of the security guarantee for Iran that the Strait of the Hormuz won't be used anymore for another round of the conflict or another round of the threatening Iranian security, national security by military building up around the Iranian norms. So a very simple understanding of the Iranian policy, and China, I think, strategically is aligned with Iranian concerns and is going to push U.S. that if you are serious for escaping from the challenge that you are facing with right now, and you are going to end the conflict in the region. So you need to lift the blockade, that is a kind of the piracy by the war that Trump has used it, and also to ending the war permanently, and also to compensate damages that Iranian has been facing in last few rounds of the war, unprovoked and illegal war on Iran. So it would be very simple, clear understanding of Iranian policy that is very much aligned with the Chinese concern of securitizing the energy routes from Persian Gulf.
Right, of course. Thank you, Dr. Imamian, for getting us, your insights. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how the situation develops from here on. And to our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, who's been closely tracking all the developments for us. Thank you both.